y'all, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about makeup brushes and I'm going to show you how I use them, what I use them for, and so on. Okay, so to do this video, I think I'm just going to go in the order of how I do my makeup. So we're going to start with eyebrow brushes. Right here, this is your typical eyebrow spoolie brush, and right here, it's just a little bit more complicated. I do not use this for my eyebrows. I actually use this one for my eyelashes. Whenever I put on my mascara, I'm like really picky about separating every single eyelash. So I sometimes use this. If I get like too much product, I will use the hair side and go through my eyelashes. But for eyebrows, I tend to stick to these. After you do your eyebrows, you're going to want to shape them and clean them up a little bit. So these are my concealer brushes. I use this one right here because it's rounded, so you can really get in that little arch. But then if I'm doing like a really big glam look and I want my eyebrows completely perfect, I will go in with these smaller angled one. And I typically use this one right here for powder, but you can do whatever you want. But I mainly recommend this one right here. After you use your liquid concealer to clean up your eyebrows, you're going to want to set that so that your eyeshadow doesn't get all patchy. So I would go in with these two powder brushes. I mainly use this one right here because it is so compacted and it really doesn't move, so you can really pack in a ton of product. This one I would go in with if I'm doing more of a lighter look. You can see that they are completely different. One's rounded and one's flat. Makeup is an interesting thing. Moving on. So after you have set your concealer and you're all ready to do your eye makeup, I would go in with a transition color, and that will be kind of like a lighter shade that will help you transition into darker colors. I would go in with one of these brushes right here. I highly recommend this brush right here because it is so fluffy. This brush right here is a crease brush, and I understand why you'd want to use it for your crease because it is so big. But if you look at these two both side by side, you will see that this brush right here is way too big, and this one right here has like a smaller tip right here, which will really give you the best result. Because with this, it will not move, it really doesn't budge, but with this one, it'll go everywhere. All 5 of these brushes are basically the same exact thing, but now you can see that I turned them sideways. They are all pretty thin, and that will help with getting inside of your crease, where with this brush, you would get all over your crease. And whenever you're doing your eyeshadow, you want to make sure that you're always going back to that same brush that you used in the beginning so that you can blend out all of the colors, and that will give you the most blended, flawless eye look. Next, we're moving on to a crease brush, and I know I'm using some of the same words to describe brushes, but I'm trying to kind of break down the meaning of them. So these right here are what I would consider pencil brushes. This one, for instance, is a pencil brush because it is shaped a little bit pointier than a blending brush, where these two right here are very flat on the top and in a circle. This one right here is more of a cone. These brushes can be used for the same exact thing, but I find that this one, if you use, like in my other video, you'll see that I use pink in my crease, but because it's so pointed, I was able to use this same brush to go underneath my eye but not put a ton of product. Where if I used one of these brushes, it would be very hard to go underneath my eye because I would look like I was sick trying to put pink under there. But I would mainly use all of these brushes to darken up my crease. So these brushes right here are what I would call a packing brush, just meaning that I would pack a certain product on my lid. These brushes are very thin, but they have a lot of bristles in them. So for instance, if I was putting on a shimmer, I would just pack it like this, and you can see how the brush doesn't really move. This brush will really give you the best result. This brush right here, I would use this brush more for putting on a matte color on my lid. You're gonna wanna go with something like this if you're doing a shimmer. But if you're doing a matte, I would go with a more loose brush. Moving on to what I would call a definer brush. It's just a smaller version of the packing brush, as I like to call it. All of these brushes are exactly the same. For instance, these are the same exact brush, just one has more bristles, which means it doesn't move as much, and the other one has less. But they can both be used for the same exact thing. If I was putting on a shimmer and using this brush, it would go all over my lid because it is a bigger brush. But if I wanted it to only go in the inner corner, I would use one of these. Moving on. Next, we're going to talk about eyeliner brushes. I only have one with me right here, and it is angled, which again will help you with getting in these small little places. I love this brush for doing my gel eyeliner because it really does give me a pointy wing, and I don't have to go back over it with a liquid eyeliner, so this is a must-have. To do my under eye, I would use some brushes kind of like these. This brush right here is super thin and it is super flat. And I really like this one to get right underneath your lash line. And this brush right here I prefer to use if I'm in a rush and I don't really have a ton of time to get that precise line, and you can just smudge this underneath your eye and it will be perfect. Or you could put this one down and then use this one to buff it out. It really just depends on what kind of look you're going for, if you want a tight little line or if you want a more buffed out line. Same brush, same thing. So that completes the eyes, and now we're going to move on to face. The first brush that we are going to talk about is not a brush at all. Okay, so before I drop this is all my beauty blenders. So the beauty blender is designed to pick up the extra makeup that is on your face, which a brush cannot do, but it picks up the extra makeup that can really make you look really cakey. And in my opinion, it gives you like the most flawless finish. So this one is dry and then this one is wet, and you can see the size difference. If I were to do my face using the dry beauty blender, it would not do anything. It would do nothing. We'll just do nothing. So I prefer to use it when it's damp, and using it when it's damp will really help pick up the extra product on your face. It really does give you like a flawless finish, trust me. If I had to recommend you one thing out of this entire video, it would be a beauty blender. I love this beauty blender. This is the Ulta beauty blender. I think it retails for like $5.49 for some reason. I'm thinking that. We're gonna go with $5, and it's the best $5 you will ever spend. Now we're gonna talk about foundation brushes, and you can see all of these right here. They're all mixed up. They are not all used for the same thing, but I'm going to show you and give you an example of the labeling, how you can completely change it. This brush right here says buffing brush. This one is a stippling brush, the same as this one. This is a small stippling brush, a pointed foundation brush, a foundation brush, and a buffing brush. I use these for completely the opposite reason that they were made. So these brushes are the exact same thing. And again, with these brushes, you can buff it in, but I find that the stippling brush will help you have the best result. And it also gives you a more natural finish. So these are my stippling brushes. I use this brush for my bronzer because I want it to be more of a natural finish. And this brush, you can really see the separation of the black hairs and the white hairs. If you're not buying the beauty blender thing so far, then definitely go with this brush here, but I still recommend my beauty blender. So these right here are defined as foundation brushes, and what you do, you put your foundation on here and you just drag it down. And I would never just use this for my foundation. I would definitely go in with a more buffing brush to buff it in, which kind of defeats the point of having this brush because it really just wastes it. And if you guys would like a more detailed tutorial on how to use brushes, then just leave a comment below and I will make sure to make that video. So before you go into your bronzers and highlighters, you're going to want to set your face. I personally do not set my face, but whatever suits you. I would go in with these three brushes right here, and you can tell this one's a different color because I don't use it for that. But just go in with any kind of big and loose brush, has a lot of give to it, so that you can get it like all over your face. So after your foundation, you're going to go in with your bronzer or highlighter, whichever one you prefer. I typically go in with my highlighter first, but I use the beauty blender and I don't use anything else. So I recommend packing it in with this brush right here and then blending it out with this brush, or just skip the whole step and just blend it in with this. So I would use this brush right here to bronze up my face, and just using a liquid bronzer. I would go in with this brush right here to give it more of a defined look with a darker color. After you've done your bronzer, you're going to want to set it. I have two different kinds of brushes for two different kinds of things. This brush right here, I would use this to just set the whole thing. But with this brush right here, I would use, if I was really contouring, I would just stipple it like this, and then I would kind of buff it out with one of these brushes. I know it's just another step. To skip the entire thing, I would just go in with this brush right here and put it in the hollows and then turn it and just go back and forth and buff it in. But I prefer to set my bronzer with a kind of like a shimmer. This is the Makeup Revolution Vivid Baked Highlighter. I just get some on here and then I bronze up. And this, in a way, sets your makeup, but it really just jazzes up your whole face, and I just love it. After you do that, you're going to want to go in with a blush. I use these two brushes for my blush. You can see the size difference in them. One has a very small tube, and this one has more of a thicker tube because it has more bristles. I use this brush for a more glamorous effect. but they both have the same effect. And then after I do all of that, I kind of like to blend everything together, and that's where I would use one of these two brushes right here. And to highlight, I would use any of these 4 brushes. And again, these are foundation brushes, but I just use them for highlight. And the reason being is because I like to give a little bit of glow right underneath my eyebrow. I need to get like right in there, whereas if you're using a fan brush, you can't really get in there without getting it all over your entire lid. So that's why I prefer to use any kind of flat little brush, but I also use 3 different kinds of highlighters. So I use this one if I'm just doing a natural look, and I use a different kind of highlighter that doesn't really have a lot of sparkle. It's just more of a all over glow. But if I'm going for a more dramatic look, I would just kind of, you know, go all over the place. But I don't go underneath my eyebrow because I don't want to get sparkles all over my lid. I would just go on my cheekbones. But with this one, I feel like you just have way more control. And if you get a close-up of this brush, you can see it doesn't really have a lot of bristles in it, but that's why it's so good, because you really don't want a lot. And you can also see in this brush, it really doesn't have a lot. These brushes look very similar, but if I were to try to shimmer my face up with this thing, it would not work because the sparkles would just get lost in my brush and I would end up wasting product. So when you're trying to apply less of something, use less bristles. I thought that I should also put in here how often I clean my brushes. I clean my brushes, well at least I try to, every single week, but it normally turns out every 2 weeks, which is completely fine because you do not have to clean your brushes every single week. It is okay because cleaning your brushes too much can actually ruin them. But with the Beauty Blender, I prefer to clean it every single time that I use it just for sanitary reasons. When I do clean my brushes, I use Dawn dishwashing soap. But another thing that I wanted to add is that I use olive oil sometimes. Every so often, my brushes will get a little bit too rough and they can actually start to hurt my eyes. So just about every single month, I will clean my brushes with a little bit of olive oil and a lot of Dawn soap. I think I covered everything. So that is all that I could come up with for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video and I hope that you maybe learned a few things. If you did learn a few things and you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. But that's all I have for today, so I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. There are several, go in with these brushes. It's easy. You're gonna get a little eye brush, and I use this for just kind of put it up. Why am I talking? Ugh.